Hello, friends, and welcome to Activate and Thrive and to our Thriving Thursday chat, where we chat with different, beautiful, health minded people about many different aspects of health and just thriving in life. We run these chats periodically here on our Facebook page, Activate and Thrive. And then we also post them to YouTube. So whether you're watching live on Facebook today or later on Facebook or on YouTube, we're really grateful that you've joined us today. And thanks so much. My name is Dawn.
And I'm Mia. And our guest today is Brenda Geary. Brenda's joining us from San Diego, California. So it's a little earlier in her part of the country. We are going to be speaking about overcoming autoimmune issues. And Brenda is a former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and motivational speaker. And after 2 decades as a VP for a Fortune 500 company, her world was turned upside down when she developed a number of autoimmune issues and then subsequently was diagnosed with breast cancer. So as a result of overcoming her health challenges, Brenda is now very passionate about sharing her story of recovery and educating and inspiring others on how to achieve and maintain optimal wellness. And she does that by leveraging the science of nutrigenomics. And I know we've spoken about that on previous chats, but that's how nutrition and natural compounds can affect us on a genetic level. So she's very passionate about teaching others about that and also about how to build a business to create a passive residual income. So Brenda, welcome. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Dawn and me. It's my pleasure to join you guys.
Well, thank you. And I want to just start off by asking you, so how does this area of nutrigenomics help empower our bodies to heal? And specifically, can you share with our audience what it's done to empower your body in overcoming your health challenges?
Yeah, so let me go back for a few minutes. Let me start with my story, and I'll share a little bit about my story, and then I'll share why the whole area of nutrigenomics, why I believe it's so empowering for people, and how it's helped me. So as you mentioned, my background was in corporate America. I did that for almost 20 years. I was a VP of HR, thriving, loving what I was doing. I was always really healthy until I wasn't healthy. So my passion for health and wellness comes from the fact that I realized that we often take our health for granted. We often, every morning you get out of bed, you jump out of bed, you take your showers, you go, and you're on autopilot with that. But all of a sudden, when your body isn't your best friend anymore, when your body isn't functioning the way that it always had, then all of a sudden, every single movement, even just getting out of bed, becomes an intentional act. And that can really be challenging when you have autoimmune challenges, especially ones that have a lot of inflammation and a lot of pain that accompany them, or a lot of fatigue, So I got sick. I first got sick in 2004. And I'm not going to go into the details of, like the names and everything, just for compliance perspective. But I developed a number of really, really debilitating autoimmune issues. And what I really believe is that when the immune system is compromised, that it just opens the door to so many other things happening. It's like a cascade effect. And so when I first got sick, I had this issue, and it started in the gut. And I really strongly believe, and we've been taught by so many health professionals, that 70 to 80% of our overall immune health starts in our gut. Well, I got sick, and it first started in my gut. So there's a correlation there. So then I subsequently got sicker and sicker and developed a number of other autoimmune issues, dealing with, really chronic inflammation, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, not just like I'm kind of tired, but literally like bone tiredness that doesn't leave your body. It's not about getting enough sleep. It's literally about, I would lay there, like at my sickest, I was in bed 20 hours a day. And I was on 24 prescription medications. And I would lay there sometimes, and I literally would be saying to my arm, move your arm, Brenda, move your arm. And I would not be able to move my arm, or, and just, it just was hard because I really feel like when a person becomes ill, and they're suffering from autoimmune challenges, you can lose yourself, you can lose your identity, because I went from being that vibrant, healthy, energizer bunny person in the corporate world to a person that, again, when you're literally in bed 20 hours a day with all these challenges. And I also developed an itching disorder. They call it autoimmune urticaria. So literally it is itching of an unknown origin, but from 2004 through maybe the end of August of like maybe September 2011, I literally had hives, welts, rashes on my body every single day. The itching never, ever, ever stopped. And that was a part of my reality. And so I kind of felt like I lost who Brenda was. And also with these autoimmune issues, my short-term memory was really, really challenged. And so there was a point in time, maybe like about 6 or 7 months, where literally everything that I said that came out of my mouth, I would forget. Like the minute it was out of my mouth, and I would look at my husband and I would say, what did I just say? So I just paint a picture for you guys of what I was living with. And at the time, I grew up in a household. I'm one of 5 kids. We were military, and I grew up in a household where we were taught when you get sick, you go to the doctors, and you just basically do what the doctor tells you. So when the doctors kept saying, well, you've got this, that means you take this. You've got this means you take this prescription. So again, I was on 24 meds, but they weren't helping. They were maybe like minimizing some of the, like trying to minimize the itching, but even with all the heavy duty meds they had me on, the itching never, ever, ever stopped. The pain never stopped. It's just this, stew of all these different symptoms, right? So finally, in August of 2011, I literally, like 2 weeks before we were introduced to Protandim NRF2, I was just praying, and I was like praying, and I was like, Lord, I just need something that can help maybe minimize some of the symptoms, just to bring them down a little bit. I was like, I just need a little bit of quality of life. I was like, that was my prayer. And then 2 weeks later, my husband met a young man that they got to talking. And my husband, by the way, is a retired police officer. So he can be pretty skeptical, but he had a sick wife at home. So when Ryan said, I have something that I think could possibly help your wife, if you're open to looking to this ABC Primetime Investigative Report, he said yes. And I'm so grateful that he did. So we watched this ABC Primetime Report, and it was talking about this term that I had never heard about. There was talk about oxidative stress, and it was talking about how oxidative stress, which is really, to simplify, cellular damage. It's the rusting of our cells. It's damage to our cells. But I had never heard that term. But it talked about how oxidative stress is linked to hundreds and hundreds of health issues. Okay, and so for me, when I saw that, and I saw the science, and that it reduced that oxidative stress by 40 to 70%, and then it went on to talk about all the universities that were studying this product, I was like, well, and it was really prestigious universities. So I was thinking, well, if they're studying this issue, this oxidative stress that is linked to all these health challenges, and I could see myself in what they were talking about, I was like, what do I have to lose, right? So again, I had not been a person that had grown up taking supplements. I just wasn't, because I didn't know about them, but as I started learning more and more, and I started learning about activation. So when you first started this discussion, Mia, you mentioned nutrigenomics. So I love the idea, and I love the fact that we can dig into the idea of taking specific compounds, plant-based compounds that can literally turn on these pathways in our bodies. And so reducing oxidative stress with NRF2 is one of the strategies. So for me, I literally said, what if this can help me? And I also said, I have nothing to lose, you guys, because I was just existing. I wasn't living. So I started taking the NRF2. I was actually taking 2 a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night, specifically based upon some feedback that I received. And you guys, it's not magic. It's not a magic pill. It's not magic, but reducing that inflammation, reducing that oxidative stress was transformational for me.
Yeah.
Because for a person that had literally itched and had rashes and welts on her body from 2004 to 2011, the itching stopped. It stopped. And I remember having one of the top immunologists at Scripps She said, Brenda, you're in the top 2% of my toughest patients I've ever had.
Mm.
And all of a sudden I stopped itching. That was huge. And the chronic pain started going down. Instead of it being a 10, it was maybe like a low 1. The chronic fatigue, instead of being a 10, it was like a 3 or a 4. And just so many other challenges started to resolve themselves. I had chronic vertigo, I had chronic nausea. Literally, when you guys think about someone that has the flu and you think about that vertigo and that nausea, think about living with that for over a year. It went away. And so all of those things I'm mentioning are linked to oxidative stress. And so I'm so grateful that I said yes, because you guys, I got my life back. And so it's not about, it's not magic, it's all science. I'm a science geek. And the fact that we're able to use these specific compounds to impact how our genes express, like literally down regulating bad gene expression and upregulating positive gene expression, is what my body needed now. And then my inflammation markers plummeted, right? And what's interesting though, is I was diagnosed with cancer like 4 months later, but I say that, I had been living with such high levels of inflammation for so long, right? It's like my body was an incubator of inflammation. And then also I had been taking a lot of really toxic meds. And I really believe that that combination of that chronic inflammation, because I tell people chronic inflammation leads to cell mutation. And then that toxicity of some of those drugs. I was taking drugs that they give to opioid patients. They give the drug to an opioid patient to try to numb the desire. They were giving it to me to try to numb the itching receptors. Well, that didn't work. They had me on high dose prednisone, doxepin. I mean, all these meds that they were trying to get my body to have a certain reaction, or even one of the meds that I was on was intended to turn my immune system off. That was the worst thing possible that I could have ever done. The worst thing possible. They were trying to suppress my immune system. But I'll tell you that with the cancer diagnosis, again, cancer is linked to oxidative stress. So I went through chemo, went through radiation, because the cancer was in my lymph nodes as well. It's not just, it was both breast and my lymph nodes. So I made a choice, but I also was continuing to do nutrigenomics because I wanted to support my body as much as possible while I was going through treatment, because my mother died at the age of 52. And when she died at the age of 52, she had survived 2 cancer bouts. And when she died at the age of 52, she didn't have cancer, but she had horrific side effects from her chemo and radiation treatments. So I wanted to protect my body as much as possible going through treatment, so that on the other side of treatment, I could still thrive. So that's a kind of that's a little bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but I wanted to just give the folks that are listening to this a feel for, where was I? All of a sudden I learned about nutrigenomics. I learned about the fact that you can absolutely impact how your genes express themselves. And I'm just that living manifestation of what's possible when you take on science, and you trust the science. I always tell people, trust the science. There are folks like at Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, LSU, American Heart Association, Harvard, Texas Tech, a lot of prestigious universities studying this branded product. Why would they do that if it wasn't because it was doing something that all of their pharmaceuticals have not been able to do? So I hope that helps.
It does.
It does. Wow.
We know the saying, to make a long story short, but sometimes we need a long story to be long.
And to really take
in this case, it's so meaningful to hear every last bit of what you just shared. And I have a couple of questions for you.
Mhm.
First of all, which one should I ask first? I guess I'll go with, during those years from 04 to 11, which is an astounding period of time to be dealing with such horrible things. How was your mental state? I mean, I'm thinking of somebody who might be dealing with this right now, maybe even watching this because they saw the title.
Yeah.
And how did you address your mental state? You had to try somehow to keep your hope, to keep your humanity, your sense of who you are.
Yeah, so I would say that it was really hard. I went through a lot of depression. So a lot of times people that suffer from chronic autoimmune challenges do also suffer from depression, because it's a heavy load when you literally are not the same person that you were. And that it's not that your mind and spirit don't want to be out and about and thriving, but literally your body, you're like almost like held hostage in your body into the challenges. And I'm a very positive person. I'm a child of God. And so I have a lot of faith. And so I think that for me, leaning into my faith helped. And then also talking to people and having a circle of people that lifted me up also helped. And then, so I think those were probably the two biggest things: prayer, just leaning into my faith.
Yes.
Were two things that I did, but I will tell you, it was really, really rough. It was really hard.
No doubt. And I just want to rewind to what you said about how, so during those 7 years or so, you were on these meds. You said 24 of them or something like that. And then you got onto this, what we call a natural activator, which activates the body to do, I mean, the body is magic. Well, maybe this activator by itself isn't magic, but it unleashes the body to engage in magic it's made to do, which is to heal itself. So apparently, once you got onto this, it was in fairly short order that these things started to change. And I find that striking. I mean, of course, we are products of this, of Protandim ourselves. Also, we know we've been on it for 9 years. We know what it's doing to keep us healthy. So I'm not surprised in that sense, but still to hear you say that you were on these meds for 7 years, and in short order, this natural activator changed that. How quick was that turnaround?
Yeah. Everyone's story is different.
Yes.
And everyone, uses different combinations. And at the time, back in August of 2011, we just had the first Protandim. Protandim is a family. There's 3 Protandims: NRF2, NRF1, and NAD, and they all have different functions of turning on these pathways in the body, which are really, really important. And I can share a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But for me, because of how sick I was specifically recommended to take 2 a day. Most folks will take 1 a day, but because of how sick I was at the time, it was recommended that I take 2. So I was like, I'm all in. So I was taking 1 in the morning and 1 at night. And again, everyone's story is different because everyone's bodies are different. But for me, I would say that within 3 months, so maybe by the first month, I was like, whoa, some of the pain is starting to listen. By month number 2, I'm like, wowzers, that chronic vertigo, that chronic nausea, that chronic itching, it's like gone. By month number 3, I was able to, working with my ND, my naturopathic doctor, we were able to start, because she saw how I was doing and she was looking at my blood work. She saw that, like, wow, your inflammation markers are dropping and you don't have some of these symptoms. So we just started to purposefully and consciously start taking me off of some of the stuff that I wasn't needing anymore. We said, well, let's try taking you off of this, and let's try taking you off of this. And we just started taking me off of different meds. For me, I would say that my biggest transformation was at like month number 4, where I was like, I'm alive again. Like month number 3, I would say, I was like, I am alive again. I am alive again. And I mean it like from the perspective of having energy, having increased quality of life. I remember like there were times where my husband, he literally was like a single guy because I was always in bed. He would check in on me. I was sleeping most of the time, when I was in tossing and turning or in pain, or projectile vomiting, just because I had chronic nausea, chronic vertigo, and I just was sick all the time like that, right? So I was like, wait, I had, what, guys, I'll say this, and people listening that have autoimmune will understand this. Sometimes when you have been suffering from autoimmune for so long, you literally forget what it feels like to feel well. You literally forget what it feels like to feel well. So all of a sudden I was like, I don't have that itching. I don't have that pain. It was just so transformational, or the minimal, less pain. And it was just like, wow, this is incredible. Because I'll tell you, I still have those. I still have the chronic fatigue. Mornings are not my gig. It's really rough. And I don't mean that I don't have enough rest. It's like my body is just so fatigued. Like literally, as I'm talking to you guys, I can feel that bone deep weariness, but it doesn't hold me hostage to my bed anymore, right? And I do still have brain fog, you guys. I have some challenges with thoughts and stuff like that, and chemo didn't help. But I tell you what, I'm having this conversation with you guys, and I'm not forgetting every single word that I'm saying, which was my reality for a long time. So I'm very grateful for how these products have changed my life. Now, some people, it might take longer, and that's why I always tell people, trust the science, understand that there was guidance that for every decade, a month for every decade of life. I tell folks, go in trusting that lowering oxidative stress is going to lower that inflammation, is going to lower that cellular damage. And I just lost my train of thought.
Well, let me then just say to help with that. So again, you were on these for 7 years, and within 3 or 4 months after getting onto something natural and hopefully starting to get off the meds, there was this huge change. Were you still on some of the meds for some time after you started Protandim, or were able to ditch those pretty quickly?
We were able to ditch them within 4 months, and not everybody's able to. So, but even if what I've seen sometimes happen for folks is that even if they can't ditch them completely, like I was able to, for many people, they're able to lower the dosing. Well, think about how powerful that is, to have less toxicity in your body, even if it's somebody that's on a particular med, that they're just even able to lower dosing. So again, for me, I was able to get off of everything. Yeah.
Oh gosh, Brenda, this is so moving. This is
very
why we
moving.
do this. I mean,
Exactly.
I could get so choked up here, but I'll hold it together. But I have a question. When you were getting the chemo, were you still taking the Protandim during that period?
Yeah, I did. I chose. Okay. So I'm probably, my family calls me the radical one now because I'm the crunchy one. So like going from a family that does every single thing that the doctor tells you to making my own personal choices. So in my situation, most oncologists follow the strict standard for what the chemotherapy. You have a lot of allopathic oncologists that don't want you to do anything other than do the chemo. For me, because of the people that I've been wonderfully introduced to as a part of my health journey, I was talking to people who practice integrative oncology. And they absolutely, and so some of the allopathic oncologists, they don't believe in supplementation at all. Versus integrative oncologists do believe in supplementation. I have a strong belief that when a person is going through chemotherapy, and yes, it's supposed to flood your body with free radicals, and it's supposed to kill the cancer. That's the intention, right? And there's one thought process that they want you to totally kill your immune system. Well, my thought process and the thought process of the people that I had belief and trust in was that, well, the chemo is going to do what the chemo is going to do. It was rough. It was a rough ride. However, I believe that lowering completely the immune system, not supporting the immune system while you're fighting that fight, while you have all those toxic chemicals going through your body, is not the right strategy. So I made a personal choice, even though my oncologist did not agree, that I was going to continue to take the Protandim NRF2 to support my body during this journey. And there was also some research that I looked at that confirmed for me that that was the right choice for me. Again, I'm not speaking for anybody else.
No, I get that.
But for me, I knew it was the right choice for me. And in fact, I remember my oncologist was like, Brenda, you just finished 6 rounds of atomic bomb chemo. And your blood work looks like that of a person that's 8 to 12 months out of chemotherapy.
Wow.
I didn't have the continual visits to the hospital with, people being admitted to the hospital. I just really believe that what I was doing to support my body helped me to not only survive the chemo, but also to thrive. And my body is thriving on the other side of it, because so many people that will go through a cancer journey on the other side of the toxic chemo have so many issues with chronic pain, with arthritic type of pain challenges, and heart challenges from radiation, depending on where how they do the radiation. Again, I just wanted to protect my body, and I knew that I had control. And so really, this is what it's all about. Is I tell people, like doctors, I respect them for what they do know, absolutely. But I also know that they don't know everything, depending on the medical school. And I know
Right.
that doctors are not really taught nutrition. Like maybe, I don't know, I've heard everything from 8 hours of nutrition to maybe like 30 hours of nutrition, if that, right? So they're not taught nutrition. They're not really taught about nutrigenomics. They're taught about, these are the symptoms, these are the meds. And I'm not minimizing, but truly, they don't understand nutrigenomics, right?
Right. Right.
And so this is a whole new area. So the idea of being able to activate the body, not supplement. So supplementing suggests that you're taking something to supplement a deficiency.
Right.
That's one strategy. But what I love about activation, what I love about activating that NRF2 pathway, that pathway that turns on those survival genes, the antioxidant genes, the anti-inflammatory genes, those detoxification genes. That's your body doing the work, and your body does it better. The idea of turning on that mitochondrial dysfunction is linked to a lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of really debilitating health challenges. It's linked to cancer. It's linked to so many diseases and issues, right? And so the idea that we can turn on this pathway to tell the body to make healthy new mitochondria, that is revolutionary, you guys. And it's not the pill that's doing it. It's literally just flipping a switch. It's turning on. It's like ringing the doorbell to that pathway, and then your body does the work, right? So I just think that the whole idea of activation, of leveraging this science for health has been, again, transformational for me. And that's why I kind of geek out, you guys. You can probably see.
Oh, I love it. I mean, your story is so powerful, Brenda. I mean, there are so many ways, of course, that we can work on optimizing our health, but with everything going on in our world, especially these last 2 years dealing with, as I heard it referred to recently as the global panini.
Global pandemic.
Yeah, but I heard it referred to as the global panini. What are some other things we can do to defend ourselves so that we are preventative in our health journey and not waiting until something bad happens?
And that's what's key, you guys. So I know that a lot of times I'll share my story, and I'm giving you an example of the worst of what was happening for me. I like to tell people I share my story because I don't want you to have my story. I literally want people to take control of their health before they're in survival mode, because being proactive about your health is so much easier than trying to regain health. So I tell people, you want to have a health strategy. You want to have a toolkit of products. And for me, core is activation. So what we know about healthy aging, and there's like 3 theories of aging, and the first is reducing that oxidative stress. So be proactive. Like, I want to talk to the person that's completely healthy right now. My husband is 63 years old. If you look at him, he looks like he's 40. Okay. He's collegiate athlete. He was in the police officer. He was in the military. And one of the things he prides himself on is health and wellness and fitness, right? So he's taking all these products. Why? It's not because he's trying to overcome something. It's because he's being intentional about maintaining his health. So reducing oxidative stress is one of my strategies because it's reducing that inflammation. Mitochondrial health is linked to hundreds of issues as well, you guys. So being able to tell my body to make healthy mitochondria is really important. There's another theory of aging, which is the sirtuin theory of aging, and basically the sirtuins are like the manager of the cell. So I like to say this, like, think about going to a really, really good restaurant and you've got amazing management and that restaurant is running on all cylinders. Well, if the management of the restaurant is really bad and it sucks, the restaurant experience is probably going to be bad. So think about the cells of your body. If you've got really good cell management, your cells are going to run really well. But if the cells don't have good management, then all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff, autoimmune stuff can happen. So I want to take care of these pathways in my body so that my body is optimized, but then also gut health is really, really critical. And so every single day I take the prebiotic and the postbiotic, the probiotic and the prebiotic, because I want to ensure awesome gut health. And prebiotics are really important because if you're going to take probiotics, you need to have prebiotics because prebiotics are what's feeding the probiotics. It's like the fertilizer for the probiotics. So those are two everyday non-negotiables for me. Then I also take the daily wellness because so many people, again, with what's been going on in the world, right? They are reactionary to the cold. They're reactionary to something that's going on versus if you can take, and folks are taking vitamin D, they're taking elderberry, they're doing vitamin C, they're doing zinc, and and then the magical piece of that product, which is the fermented yeast, right? The Epicor. But folks are taking these products individually, right? I love the fact that the daily wellness product is one product that's got all of these ingredients that I can intentionally take every single day to literally boost my immune system every single day. And, and so as opposed to being afraid of what might happen, I am intentionally every single day taking actions to kind of make my body something that doesn't want to be a host for something bad. I want to optimize. I'm intentionally optimizing my immune health. So those are just some of my daily go-tos. I mean,
yes, and ours as well. And so, if any of this resonates with you and what Brenda, has been sharing, if you've been following us, then just letting you know, reach out to us because we also have a 20% sale on some of these products that she's mentioned through the rest of today. So
that's today, March 31st, 2022.
Yeah.
Later, it doesn't apply, but let me say, Brenda, your story is remarkable. To those listening, just to very quickly sum up, basically, Brenda was able to, in her case, ditch the medications that were actually keeping her body from doing what it's made to do. She got onto these natural activators that enabled it to do what it's made to do. It's as simple as that, although through an excruciating process of years for Brenda. But I also want to just point out that we are very careful to make no claims whatsoever that Protandim is going to cure, prevent, or mitigate any illness whatsoever. It is formulated to reduce what she's been talking about, oxidative stress, and it's scientifically proven to do that. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, what you have heard here is the sincere real life testimonial of somebody who, in her case, had this impact. But for everybody, this reduces oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is at the core of over 200 diseases. So if we can get the body to activate itself, as Brenda did, you never know what's possible. Brenda, we'd love to talk and talk and talk. We'll try to keep these
flew by.
This really did, but it's such a powerful story you've shared, and we'd like to keep these to about a half hour. So we'll wrap it up now with just massive thanks to you for coming on to share your story, and especially love that you said that I share my story so that you don't have to have my story. Right. I think that is just really, really powerful too. So thank you just a million times.
From the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much
for coming on today to share with our audience. It means so much. And friends, as I said at the beginning, we run these Thriving Thursday chats periodically on Thursdays at noon East Coast US time on our Facebook page, Activate and Thrive. We share them on YouTube also. So anytime we're running one, we announce it on Facebook and Instagram, and please feel free to join. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Brenda. And reach out to us if you have.
Anybody can reach out to us with any questions about Protandim or how you can get a hold of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Take care. Bye-bye.